Guys, so today I want to share some books that we read this year, our chapter book read alouds. My girls just finished 2nd grade, 4th grade, and 6th grade. So some of these books are audio books, and then some we just read, the good old fashioned way. And so there we had a little bit of a mix of both. First, we have Mr. Lemoncello, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. Now, the ones that I have that I read, I don't have to show because, again, we either listen to them on audio or I check them out from the library. So Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library, we listened to this one and my girls absolutely loved it. It's kind of like a, it's like a game type book where this boy and like 10 other students have to go into a library and like figure out clues to escape from the library, and the winner receives money. And so they have a certain amount of time. And so my girls, my older two, actually, after reading that or listening to that, ended up going back and checking out the entire series from the library. They both loved that series. Not something that they would have normally picked out on their own, but just me reading books that they normally wouldn't read on their own has really expanded their horizons a little bit. So next one was The Shakespeare Stealer. And so this is about a boy in the time of Shakespeare in England, and he is a runaway servant and how he has to pretend that he wants to be an aspiring actor in Shakespeare's plays and kind of what goes into that. And it's a little bit of a mystery as well. And so that actually is a series, and my oldest daughter ended up reading the rest of the series as well from that one. The next one we read was The Year of the Dog. It's kind of like a coming of age. It's a year in the life of a Chinese American girl, and just kind of like what her culture is versus, acclimating to American culture. And she finds a friend who's Chinese American as well. And if you're going to read this one, I suggest getting the book, not listening to it on audio, because there's like little pictures in the book, and it's not like huge pictures, but it's little pictures that are placed that are just really funny. So me and my girls were laughing quite a lot at like all that went down. It's written by Grace Lynn, I believe, and she is also the author of Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. I don't know if the two are similar, but this one, we really liked this one. The next one we read was Paddington. At first my girls were like, oh, we don't, so one or two of them, I don't know if I want to listen to this, but we all loved it. We love the movies Paddington 1 and 2. What my one daughter liked about it, she's like, I like that there's no bad guys in this. So it's not like anything kind of like the movies at all, but it is similar, like in the fact of just kind of how the bear comes and meets the Brown family, and just kind of like all the little predicaments he finds himself in. And it's just so funny. We were again, you have to get the book of this one to see the pictures. We were laughing at a lot of this one as well. Just sweet classic book. Totally recommend that one. Next, I've seen this one over the years, and I just, again, when we go to the library, if I just see them randomly, I'll just pick it up and then go from there. So this one is Zoe and Sassafras. This is book 2, Monsters and Mold. Sorry, there's a little reflection. This series is so cute. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Doc McStuffins. My girls used to watch that when they were younger. So this girl and her mom actually have this kind of magical ability. There's these animals that come and like ring the doorbell of the barn, and they need help, and her mom are the only ones who are able to like see the creatures and help them. And it goes a step further in it. She incorporates like science experiments. So she like does, her hypothesis, and she's like, well, we have to run tests. So it's kind of building in science as well. And there's pictures. These are pretty easy to read. We read these in just a couple sittings, like 2 or 3 sittings. And even my oldest one, she really likes this one. So I read the first one. This is book 2. And they were like, you have to read the rest of the series with us. So I was like, why don't you read them on your own? No, we want you to read them to us. So if you have kids who like imagination and science and things like that, or even if they don't, I think this is a good way to add that. So that series is really, really cute. We're on book 2 now. And then, I don't know, I guess over the next little bit, we'll just slowly read read through the series. Next, we read Five Little Peppers and How They Grew. Now, I did not read, I got the abridged version, the classic starts version. This was so fun. Well, it was really sweet book, but I kept forgetting the name. I kept calling them like Five Little Poppers or Mrs. Pennypackers, or like I couldn't ever remember the name, and my girls kept like laughing because like I don't know why, I just couldn't remember it. But anyway, this is a really sweet book. It's about a mom that the dad has passed away, but the mom, and she's got 5 girls, and she's got, or 5 kids, I'm sorry, 5 children. She's got to work, the oldest brother has to work, so it's up to the oldest daughter, who's only like 10 or 8 or something, to take care of the 3 younger siblings, and just kind of what happens and how their life looks like. And it's a very wholesome, like sweet story. So overall, we enjoyed this book. It was just like a sweet classic book. I'm sure there are some siblings out there who are this sweet and kind and lovely to each other, but if you're looking for some inspiration and some motivation and some good examples, that one's a really good one. Okay, next we listened to The Secret Garden. I think this must have been an abridged version, I'm not sure. I think it was the classic starts, because it was only like 2.5 hours long. And so we listened to that one. That was a good one as well. And then we read The 100 Dresses. It was moving. Apparently a lot of people will cry and tear up at the end. I was almost there. I was like, oh my goodness. It's about a girl. She is clearly poor. She's getting made fun of. She's not sure if we're not sure if she knows, if she's aware she's getting made fun of or not, but she says that she has 100 dresses. And so, it just shows the story of that, and it's not really through her perspective, it's actually through the perspective of the sidekick, like the bully's sidekick. And so it's a really good story. And then the last one that we listened to partially was The Long Winter, and that was a Laura Ingalls Wilder book. But the reason I said partially is because I checked it out from our library app, and it was quite long. It was like 7 hours or something, and we just didn't get a chance to listen to it before the time had elapsed. And I never renewed it, and my girls never really, they were into the book, but they never really asked like, hey, can we renew this to listen to it? So they all loved the Little House series, but I guess it just wasn't one that was enough for them to notice that they hadn't even finished listening to it. And then the last one, as far as just regular read alouds, is Grandma's Attic. This one is similar to kind of a Laura Ingalls Wilder Little House on the Prairie. It's about, so it's this grandmother, and she's telling stories to her granddaughter, and in like the 1930s, but it takes, when the grandmother was a little girl, it was like the 1880s, 1870s. It doesn't have like a plot. It just kind of tells, it's like little excerpts, little vignettes of what, you know, childhood stories and the antics her and her brothers got into, and it's Christian and always goes back to like God and what God taught her. And so it's just a very sweet, a very wholesome. I read 1 or 2, at least 1, I think we're on the 2nd book now of the Grandma's Attic series. I believe there's 4, there could be more in this series, but just a sweet, easy to read, quick, not super long or anything, good, wholesome book. This is our history read alouds that I read in addition. So we did Beautiful Feet books, American history with picture books, but I added in some read alouds as well. And where I got the inspiration of like how I chose these was I just went on Sunlight. Even though we did Beautiful Feet book, I went on Sunlight D, their early American history, and I just picked a couple from there to add in. So we read The Witch of Blackbird Pond. Now this is about a girl, it takes place in colonial, I believe it's Connecticut, 1600s or so. She's from Barbados, and so her way of life is obviously very different. And so she's living with her, most of the town is very Quaker, or not Quaker, they're Christian, I don't know, Puritan or something like that. And there's this witch who is a Quaker who lives on the outskirts of town, who the girl befriends. And so it just tells that story. So to me, it was a little bit slow moving. One of my daughters did not like it at all. The other 2 did like it. It was good, and it's highly recommended. And it was good. For me personally, it was just my personal thing. It was a little bit on the slower moving side. And to add that, the girl was like firmly told no, don't, you know, by her aunt and uncle. She went to live with her aunt and uncle, told like, no, do not go and visit this lady. And although the lady was very kind and sweet, and like they obviously had the wrong impression, she deliberately like went behind their back and went and visited this lady. So I don't like the message. It was like, well, even if you think, you know, your parents might not always know what's best, and you could just kind of do whatever you want as long as you have good intentions. So maybe I'm reading too far into that, but that's kind of my take from that. I also read A Lion to Guard Us. This is about a 3 siblings, and their mother dies. They're in England, and so their father is in Jamestown, and they're trying to make the voyage over to find their father so that they can have family to live with. And so it was really good. We listened to that one. All of us really enjoyed it. I also read The Secret of the Sealed Room. That is it's a fiction, but it has Benjamin Franklin in it. It's obviously not real, but it's like a murder mystery fiction that most of us liked. One did not really love it, but because she just doesn't like mysteries, but I thought it was really good. And again, these are like the reason I want to add historical fiction in is because it just gives you a really good scope of like really truly what life was really like back then. Like, yes, people were indentured servants for years, you know, that type of thing. So it's basically about a girl. She is an indentured servant, and her mistress dies, and they're trying to blame, you know, the lowlier type of people. And so the little girl and Ben Franklin are trying to figure out who the real murderer was. So little plot twist at the end. Always love a good plot twist. We also read The Courage of Sarah Noble. That was part of our Beautiful Feet books. It actually came, it did come, even though it was picture books, it came with a couple chapter books as well, and it does have pictures in it, but this is definitely more of like a chapter book. We liked this one. It's a little girl, she's like 8 years old, and she goes out into the woods with her dad he's like building a new house, and so the mom and the siblings are left home, and she's out, but she's left by herself for quite a while, and then she interacts with like this Native American tribe, and so just all of that is what I'll leave it at. But it was a sweet little story. And then there is the same lady, Alice, I think it's Daglish, wrote The Bears on Hemlock Mountain. Takes place around the same time, but the main character is a boy. And so it's sort of similar, very thin, quick, easy read, has some pictures. So we read that one as well. And then we also read Pilgrim Stories. This one came with Beautiful Feet books. So no, not really. I don't think there's any pictures, maybe like 1 or 2. Definitely a chapter book. This goes into the great detail of the pilgrims, of not that just like, oh, they came over from England to the Mayflower, about how they spent years in Amsterdam, and just all the ins and outs and all that they went through, and kind of their story. So it gave you a much better picture and clearer picture of the Pilgrim stories. So we all enjoyed this one. Then we also read The Year of the Horseless Carriage, 1801. Now this one is like, I don't know how to feel about this one. So it has in it everybody from Napoleon Bonaparte to Thomas Jefferson to Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea to Dolly Madison, and then Robert Fulton, who invented the steamboat. And so there was just a lot of different historical characters in there. To me, it was interesting because it definitely interwove, like it just made the picture complete, especially like with the Louisiana Purchase and what France had to do with that, and Napoleon Bonaparte and all that. But it was a little bit difficult for my girls to follow, only because so I had to kind of like explain and reiterate and sum up, just because there were so many different moving pieces and it jumped around quite a bit. And then my older 2 read Ben and Me. It's a fiction about this little mouse, how the mouse actually really helped Ben Franklin and was responsible behind like all his inventions and ideas. And then there's like a Disney version movie of that. I think it's like 30 minutes. It's from the the 50s or something. We watched that, and it was kind of cute. My daughter and I read Johnny Tremain, that takes place like in the Revolutionary War, or leading up to the Revolutionary War and the Boston Tea Party and things like that. And then for Johnny Tremain, we also watched, again, Disney made a movie from like 1957, and so me and my oldest like compared, you know, the book to the movie. And interestingly, Johnny Tremain, there's, I think it's Liberty Street or something in Disney World, is taken like from Johnny Tremain, that era. So I thought that that was pretty cool. He like spoke all about how he based like this whole section of Disney on that. So I don't know, that may cause you to run the other way, but I don't think so. It was a really good book and a good movie as well. And then me and my oldest also read Carry On Mr. Bowditch, or Mr. Bowditch. I don't know. I always say it's Mr. Bowditch, but that's post-Revolutionary War, and it shows kind of like what ship life, like sea life and things like that, when they go out on the boats for months or years, and it's how dangerous it is, and you know how he helped with like navigation, and how navigation has come a long way thanks to him. There was a lot of death in that one. Oh my gosh, like poor guy, there was a lot of death in that one. It wasn't gruesome, it just was like in a paragraph, it was like, and she died, and then 6 months later, blah, 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 like very like just matter of fact about it. But I guess that's how it was back then. And then we listened to Tolliver's Secret, that is about a little girl in the Revolutionary War. She had to disguise herself as a boy to kind of like be, to get a message to the, oh shoot, I believe it was, this is bad, I think it was George Washington. We listened to it. Sometimes when I listen, I don't, when we're listening in the car, I don't always exactly pay like 100% attention. And then two others that we read that were more like, they weren't historical fiction in that sense, they were more like textbooky, so they were a little bit drier, but the one was Black Heroes of the Revolution, and then the other one is The White House is Burning. And so, but it's just still interesting to get an idea of like, you know, it just gives a better picture. These chapter books go into much more detail. And so those are still good. I still recommend them, but they just weren't like as story-like as some of the other ones were. So that is everything we read this year. Now, again, that is not including all of the picture books that we read through Beautiful Feet Books. If you want to know, I have a whole review of like our whole, we call it morning basket, but it's family subjects, group subjects. There's so many different names. It's science and Bible and history, and you know, a couple other subjects that we do all together as a family, me and my daughters. And so I gave a whole review on everything we did. So if you want to see more of like an in-depth of what all the picture books and everything that we read, I have a video and I can link that down below. I also made a video recently, and it was talking about how I went from hating reading aloud in chapter books to loving it, and it's kind of one of my favorite parts of our homeschool day. And if you find yourself in that situation, I just gave some tips of like what worked for me and kind of how I changed over the last couple years. So if you want to check that one out too, I'll leave that below in the video or in the description. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Maybe it gave you some ideas of what to read next year. I'm sorry I couldn't show more books, but I will be sharing what we're reading next year and in the couple years to come. I have a bunch that I'm about to share in another video. And so if you want to see that, I will have the actual physical books and you can see those. So make sure you stay tuned for that, that you're subscribed so you can check out that video. Thanks so much again for being here. I appreciate it, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.